Let's do it.
Let's do it. We're live. Welcome, everybody, to Nina Goes Live. That will be me. LinkedIn Straight Talk for coaches and creators. And today I have Ernesto Mandowsky. And as many of you already saw in my announcement that's been up for a couple of days now, we will be talking about some interesting stuff, including Challah bread. So very excited about that. And we also have a visitor in the background. Hello, young man.
We have a little baby, a future podcaster.
There we go. Very good. You know, we got to start early. So, Ernesto, why don't you introduce yourself with or without kid? Both are perfectly fine.
Hello, everyone. My son's clamoring for my attention. My name is Ernesto. I'm from Miami. 25 years ago, I threw a party, brought together 2,000 people, and really discovered my passion around how to use technology to achieve that mission of like having amazing shared experiences together. And since then, I've been on a journey discovering the intersection between hospitality, baking challah bread, technology, and CRM. And so I think we're gonna unpack some bits of that journey today. And thank you for having me, Nina.
Of course. And I love your introduction, and it gets right to the jugular of it. So that's cool. I just love how you're bringing together sort of, the very physical part of, throwing parties, coming together in person, in IRL, in real life, but then also translating it into our digital world of today, which, with the CRMs, with AI, with all the technical aspects of it. So I think that's a really cool combo. So normally my first question is why LinkedIn? Because after all, this is a show, LinkedIn Straight Talk. But in your case, I'm going to make an exception because you brought it up already. So 17 years ago, you said you threw a big party for 2,000 people. And in a trailer that I listened to, I think it's a trailer to your show, you're setting it up saying, I'm surrounded by cops and I have $2,000 in my hand and 250 really pissed off people in front of me. And you never resolve it. What happened?
Oh, man. Yeah, it was, so I was surrounded by the cops for protection.
Oh, okay.
We were past curfew, and there were like 200 people outside on premise past curfew. And so the cops were kind of there. Yeah. So it was a great hook. I got your attention. But, the resolution was people weren't allowed into my party, and I was always pissed off when I would purchase tickets to these events and I would get locked out of the parties and I wouldn't receive my money back. There were no refunds. Yeah. So I had made, when I was in the shoes of the host, I made a decision that, if I didn't like it as a guest, I'm going to do the right thing and return people money. And so I started giving people money. I'm holding all this cash. And so I had the cops so that I wouldn't get jumped and ambushed and, the rest of the money stolen.
Okay. All right. Because I'm like, what a teaser. It's like such a great setup. And then the interviewer, who's Hank, right?
His name was Eric.
Oh, Eric. Oh, I thought you said Hank at some point because Hank Hintermeyer or something like that was the very first podcast I ever was on some 10 years ago. But anyway, okay, different good dude. And he's asking you all these really good questions. I'm like, but no, you got to ask Ernesto how the story ends. I want to know how the story ends. All right. Thank you for solving the mystery.
Open hook closed.
Yes, the close was totally not there, and I was left hanging, so I had to close the hook. So anyway, good, excellent. I'm glad it was a good and healthy setup, and you weren't mobbed because I'm like in my mind's eye, I watch way too many shows, NCIS and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, he's gonna get jumped and killed, and God knows what. I'm glad you're with us today to tell the story. All right. So before we go into events, which I want to go much, much deeper into because my producer heart is very interested in learning more. Tell me just briefly about sort of your, where you come from and why you do what you do today, with a little bit more context so we can dive deeper.
Sure. So I'm from Miami. My
Mhm.
family's from around the world, and growing up, there were very few things that you could do with a group of 25 people. You couldn't go to restaurants. We could go to the beach, but like kind of everyone runs around, does their thing. So what
Mhm.
we did a lot of was hosting parties at home. We would have these dinner parties. People would dance. It was always this big energy. And so in high school, I threw this big party that I mentioned. And so I really was inspired by bringing people together. When I went to college, I studied systems engineering. I wanted to appease my parents, but also, follow my own passions of understanding how
Mhm.
things worked. And post college, I sought to apply that skill set in the world of restaurants and hospitality, because those industries sought to bring people together around a shared experience of food. After about 10 years in the industry across various different roles, integrating technology for these restaurants, I started my own business, MDM. I wasn't MDM at the time, but started my own business, and I am on a mission still today to help entrepreneurs, small businesses, and leaders more effectively use technology so that they can, it's on my website, grow with people that really
Mhm.
creating these deep relationships with one another so you can collaborate and make magic together.
Wonderful. And what does MDM stand for?
The domain is
What's the
www.
acronym? Yeah, the acronym.
Yeah. The domain is your MDM, and that's very intentional because it means different things to different people. When I first started the rebrand, it was $1 Million Machine. But some people would say, "Oh, that's kind of gimmicky. Like you're another Miami $1 Million,
Yeah.
false person." But recently, I've thought of it as many different meanings: momentum-driven machine, mission-driven momentum, $1 Million momentum. It really boils down to how you define it,
Yep.
and the output or the result of having your MDM is this momentum, is this confidence in your
Yep.
ability to move with this group of people.
Yep. Yep. And I mean, I love, because I think the relationship part gets lost in so much of what we do today, especially, us who live in a world of, we're sitting at home, kids in the background, in my case, snoring dog. And, we're sort of just digital, digital, digital. And it's DMs and it's commenting and it's messaging and the occasional Zoom. And I think the whole like um, realness of being in the room together and even touching one another and looking in each other's faces in real time. I mean, even on Zoom, like I don't know about you, I often find myself looking at myself rather than the person I'm talking to,
Mm.
which is really odd. So I actually turn off my self view on all
Mm-hmm.
my Zoom calls just because it's so distracting, because it's like, oh my, there's a hair out of place here. But whatever it is that gets us going, or I should move those orchids closer together. They don't look so good on screen the way they are. Whatever, right? So, especially since I think also 80 or 90% of us small business owners have ADHD, so that doesn't help.
Maybe 100%.
Yeah, I didn't want to say 100, but I think it's 100, Ernesto. So, what I would love to dive a little deeper with you, just because for me as a producer or former producer, this is where it gets really interesting. Um, and tell me if this is a rabbit hole you feel equipped to go down with me and are willing to go down with me. So if I am I don't know, I'm an accountant, I do people's books, or I'm an IP lawyer and I help like small businesses with intellectual property, or I'm a LinkedIn expert who helps people with the LinkedIn strategy. How can I translate that into an experience? It's such an innately dry, we're
Yeah.
all like, for instance, I only work with service-based entrepreneurs, which was great when I was still doing video, because they had to show up themselves on video in order to sell themselves, because they didn't have a tangible good like a baker or a, I don't know, dog grooming business. They all have clients to show and
Sure.
results to show. But we
Sure.
as service-based people do not. So how do you translate that? What is the process?
I am not an expert at like event or experience design. So take
Okay.
this with how you wish.
Hmm.
But I think, you know, I think what you can do, I think what we can all do is kind of like really dig down within ourselves and find what is this thing that lights you up. And that
Hmm.
sounds like a bunch of fluff.
No, it's
But I
fine.
mean,
I mean,
think about hobbies, think about
Mhm.
skills. I don't know. It can even it can even be as simple as like I love to take a walk.
Mhm.
But like trying to bring in something different or distinct in combination with an experience. And I don't know, fire up ChatGPT, fire up Claude, say, hey, I love walking. I'm a LinkedIn coach,
Yep.
and I have a background in video production. What are 5 events that I could do? Like, we don't even have
Okay.
to think so much anymore.
Yep.
You can
Yep.
literally use these tools that
Yeah.
can do the thinking for us. They don't do the thinking. They do the like immediate feedback. But
Yep.
then it's up to us to say, oh, I really like this idea of hosting a 30-minute group walking meeting where we were talking about LinkedIn. I don't know, I'm kind of
Yeah.
making this up.
Yeah.
For years, my friends, I'd been baking challah for literally 15 years. And people keep telling me, you got to bake, you got to bake, you got to bake, you got to launch a bakery, you got to launch a bakery. And finally, it's like, okay, I'm not going to launch a bakery, but I'm going to take my bread and weave it into the CRM story. And it didn't happen overnight. Like, I've given 25 plus in-person keynotes. I've done
Mhm.
100 plus podcast interviews. I've
Mhm.
spoken a lot. And so I've eaten a lot of crap. I've like gone through the reps. I've gone to the gym hundreds of times
Yeah.
before I got to this point. Like, someone listening to this right now, like, yeah, I just said go into Claude and do your little
Yeah.
brainstorm, but like, you're gonna have to fail 50 times before you land on this amazing CRM, challah baking, networking activation that feels amazing. Like, you
Mm.
gotta do the reps. And so there's
Mhm.
no way, I don't know if that was as prescriptive as anyone would
No,
hope,
no,
but
no, no, no. This is great. So then, yeah, and then I mean, I can think of a million ways, right? Because I have a lot of hobbies, and that's not the problem, right? It's sort of the how do we make them match, and how do we create an experience? And I agree with you that AI would be a great tool there to sort of support, synthesize some of and focus some of these thoughts. Um, so, so now we have an experience, or we think of an event. How does that? So, who do you invite? How do you invite? And what is the physical aspect of it? Because I think that's where a lot of people are, and we all have our workshops, and we all have our God knows what's, and but the physical aspect of bringing people actually physically together, I think that is where a lot of people are still very nervous, even as it feels a gazillion years after the pandemic.
yeah. Well, there's a couple of, I mean, let's get to the core of your fear. People
Hmm.
listening, why they're nervous that no one will show up.
Yep.
And I mean, I have hosted a workshop with 2 people in the audience, literally
Mhm.
2 people,
Yep. In
at
in-person workshop.
in person.
Yep.
So, okay, is that the fear? Is it the fear that no one will show up? Is it the fear that um, you
They'll throw
invested
tomatoes
all?
at you. Yeah.
No, you paid money. You rented a space for
Yeah.
$500 or $1,000. Like, is that the fear? Um, Whatever it is, whatever the objection is,
Hmm.
write down the objection and like create a solution to it. Like, if your fear is the money, then go to a workspace, a co-working space, and say, hey, I want to do a community event. Can you lend me the space for free, and you can invite your members? Go to a hotel on an off hour,
Hmm.
make your ask.
Yep.
Ask people, do it free. Hey, I'm starting this thing. You have to kind of think for yourself, like, what is the right ecosystem to plug into, but ask for a free space. And if you're afraid that no one will show up, go back to what I said 5 minutes ago. You got to do this 50 times before you get a success. Like, maybe 50 people won't show up. Maybe people won't show up for the first 10 times, but eventually they're going to show up. You're going to get better at whatever it is. You're going to learn about how to improve. And eventually they will show, and someone will make a referral, and then you're going to post about it online, and more people will get curious. But you have to commit to a certain, block of time before, like, without seeing results.
Yeah. And allow it to prosper. Yeah. Before you pull the plug. I mean, it definitely, I mean, when I met you, if you hadn't talked about baking the challah bread, you would have just been another white boy in a sea of Zoom little squares, right, at this meeting, which had about 80 people in it. So it was a big meeting. But the moment you started talking about, events and baking challah bread for 2,000 people, I mean, the 2,000 people was certainly also something, but it was the bread. It was the bread that got my ears to perk up and go like, wait a moment. What's going on here? Am I in the wrong movie? It's like, you're checking your email, you're doing a million things, and all of a sudden you go like, wait. I need to listen to this person.
What's this bread?
Yeah, what's about this bread? So yeah, so I think that definitely. So it's in your case, it's baking bread and setting goals, right? So really nothing much to do with CRMs and relationship building per se.
So it's interesting. I hate the word interesting. We start this endeavor, whatever it is, project, goal, business, side hustle, and we start sharing it with others, and then we start getting feedback. And some feedback that we receive, it's like not hostile, but like not expected, not desirable. And so as I was doing this workshop, I was like, yeah, it's bread and it's goal setting. And my cousin's husband says to me, dude, like, what's up? Why are you doing this? Like, is it making you money? Which is a question that I think every entrepreneur could benefit from asking themselves. In the beginning, it was like, no, it's not making me money. I haven't signed any clients out of this. And he's like, why not? And I started getting defensive. No, it's cool. It's for the community. And I continued to think about it. I'm like, wait, what the hell am I doing? Like, I don't have time. No one has time. So how can you really weave it into the funnel or the customer journey of the core service? So now how the workshop has evolved, people come to the workshop with their goals already set, because I'm not going to be your goal, your babysitter around like, did you set a goal, Nina? No, like, hopefully you have a goal. You show up to my workshop, we bake the bread, and in the 45 minutes where the bread is rising, I'm now facilitating breakouts where, okay, Nina, John, and Jessica get together, 5 minutes, share your goal, and share the referral that you're looking for, share the introduction that you're looking for. And so in the room now, everyone's sharing, oh, I'm looking for this one, or oh, I met Nina, or oh, Ben is looking for this. And so as they're in the room, you're basically in this small tiny ecosystem of 25 people. And in the workshop, I'm saying, hey, you have 25 people right now that should be in your CRM that are all committed. Either they have goals that they shared, or you shared your goals with them. And so if you start to help each other in this little pod of 25 people, of strangers that you met for the first time, imagine if you had a list of your 100 closest collaborators that you are pouring into. If you're pouring into these 100 hustlers, as I call them, it's only natural that someday you're going to start, like, referrals will start to rain on you. But you cannot get there. Well, no, we can all get there, but having a system, having a tight-knit CRM in place that keeps track of all this stuff will certainly accelerate the process.
Yeah. So that is where And by the way, I love your alliterations because I'm a big sucker for alliteration, especially when they start with C, because clockwise productions and all that. So you have the 5 recipes, right? Which is filled with C alliteration. So my
A
heart
lot
was
of
like, hey,
C's.
some
Yes.
new words, some new C words, because I collect them. I do collect them. I have a list. And Claude keeps the list, apropos. So let's talk about those 5, because I love a good framework, and sometimes frameworks really feel forced, but yours feels really, really organic and natural. So do you care to share about that a little bit, so we can get build on what you just said?
Yeah. So fundamental problem is that all businesses need recipes.
Yeah, I
And so
love it.
my framework is called the 5 recipes to
Hmm.
maximize relationships. It's 5 C words. Yes. Happy that you noticed. And I'll list the 5, and then I'll kind of give a one-liner for each. We
Yeah.
have categorize contacts,
Yeah.
and we have contextualize your collaboration.
Hmm.
We have commercialize the opportunity,
Hmm.
catalyze decision, and
Hmm.
crystallize growth. All IZE words, all rhyme with clockwise. Um, so the first one, categorize your contacts, really is about just knowing the role of the contact of this person on your list. If you open up your phone book on your iPhone or your Android, it's just a name, but
Right.
it doesn't say like, oh, this person's a client, this person's a vendor, this person's a podcast host. It doesn't
Mhm.
really have that. So adding tags so that you understand the role that every contact plays is kind of fundamental, because that allows you to say, okay, I want to follow up with all my prospects before following up with my peers. Like,
Yep.
my friends can wait. The prospects, the clients, they're first.
Mhm.
Then the referral partners, then the promoters. But it kind of in this sequential order. If you don't have that schema already set up, then you're just looking at your sea of thousands of contacts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The second step is contextualize collaboration.
Mhm.
So you and I spoke, right, the first time, and we met, and you're like, oh, this guy's cool. He could be a guest. Um, one of the first things you did for me was you sent me a form. You really
Mhm.
tried to contextualize the
Yeah.
collaboration, which in this case is a conversation online. And
Yeah.
so whenever you are engaging with anyone, you want to understand, what's happening, what are their goals, how can you help, how are we
Mhm.
really designing this collaboration.
So would that be where the prospect partner promoter come in? Is that the level where you would define that?
So though no, so that like labeling happens in step 1.
Oh,
Once you're in,
okay.
yeah, once in step 2, it's you probably send a form, you probably schedule a meeting, because
Mhm.
the form allows you to collect some raw data, and then the meeting you could kind of organically unpack and massage that data collected through a form.
Okay.
Then step 3 is commercialize. So we all know a pipeline. We know a pipeline with different stages. Like you have a call set, then you have a proposal. Sometimes you send some sort of an agreement. You have an invoice that sometimes is paid or not paid. And then there's the going live or getting started or following
Yeah.
starting with that collaboration. Most of the time people sit on a pipeline idle,
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
there's no action. Why? Because for many reasons, but from a personal perspective, we are all like doing so many things that the follow-up is a little lost.
Yeah.
So that's where step 4 comes in. Catalyze. When we have
Yeah.
automations in place that are sending messages to our collaborators on our behalf, like an automated email or an automated
Mhm.
message or
Yeah.
automated follow-ups, it really just nudges the person to catalyze the
Further.
activity, the collaboration, to move forward.
Yeah.
That's where automation kind of comes into play. And then the 5th step is crystallize growth. Really, like, once you get started, how do you now paint a picture for the future together? Is it your
Mhm.
onboarding sequence? Is it inviting them to, delivering the service? Is it now that you and I have had a show, are we going to check in every 30 days or every 90 days or who knows?
Yep.
Like, how are we going to like really crystallize that we're going to grow together in this journey? And that looks a little different for everyone and for different collaborators, but really painting a picture for a shared future is where I think the biggest opportunity lies with your relationships.
I mean, I love this so much because, I mean, you and I had a conversation when we met each other one-on-one about, how I've never met a CRM I liked other than contextually, which is no longer available because it's went off into the sunset. I think we all have our weaknesses along these 5 recipes. And I can see myself like with a big fat F on pretty much all of them.
No, you're better than you think.
Maybe C minus.
Sure, you're better than you think.
I mean, I do remember in the good old days where my contacts were all in one place because we didn't have all the craziness we have today. I had over 4,000 contacts. And as a producer, my value was those contacts, right? It was like,
Sure.
We need a car painted red by tonight at midnight. Can you make that happen? I'm like, sure, I can make that happen, right? So because I had the right contacts, and if I didn't have the contact was a phone call away. So, and back then I categorized, oh my God, I had hundreds of categories. By line item in a budget, right? It was a very clear cut way. It was genius. It was genius. And then, then came the world of email lists and subgroups. And then some conversations are on LinkedIn. Some conversations are in my email list. Some conversations are God knows where. And all of a sudden there is no one list anymore. And no more, I mean, of course we tag everything, but I feel like it's so hard to even wrap your brain around how to capture everybody in one place and make it cohesive, right?
Yeah. And it's only getting harder in a world obsessed with more and more. And I mean, it's a commentary and it's not a knock on your work, but here we are teaching people how to get more contacts on LinkedIn, make more connections, make more introductions, refer, get more contact. But like on the back end, what's happening? Like, are you putting them? Are you putting them somewhere? Are you calling them? And it's hard because the world wants us to do more, and you need more followers and more likes and more streams and more clicks. And that's what makes even my work difficult because I just recently, I started with a client in January. We were going through the 5 steps and we said, hey, like, we're going to start like labeling your contacts. And he goes, oh, I have 18,000 contacts on my phone. Can Notion do it for me? And I'm like, no, Notion, like, no, it can't. He's like, but I need to. And I'm like, okay, we'll upload the contacts and you'll do it.
Or 1,800 or 18,000?
No, you heard it right. 18,000.
Okay.
And of course he never did it. Of course we don't work together anymore. But that is an example of people who feel the need to hoard the thousands of contacts that they have. And the reality is your brain scientifically can only hold up to 150 active relationships at one time. That's like scientifically proven. It's called Dunbar's number. And after you cut out like, your spouse and your kids and your close family and your closest friends, that leaves you about 100 people. So that's why when I work with people, I say, look, we're going to list out your 100 hustlers, the 100 people that you are moving to the moon together with. And sometimes you're going to graduate to your transformational 10, and sometimes you're going to downgrade to your 1,000 fans. But it's all manual. The automation is like something we set up when we're well into working together and setting up your machine. It's not something that's done yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, we talk to our clients a lot about the list of 25, which I learned from another code. And the list of 25 is similar to what you're talking about. It's sort of the top of mind, and it can be, you know, prospects. In the case of that coach, it was prospects. I never have 25 live prospects floating around. I have less, but you know, it could also be, you know, influencers in your field or God knows what, but like the people you want to stay top of mind with on LinkedIn. And it's a great little tool, and it works actually quite well if you do it. So let me just quickly revisit this. So you've got your 100, what did you call them? The 100
hustlers, 100 hustlers.
You've got 1,000 fans, and you've got 10 aspirational. What was that?
I call it the transformational 10.
Oh, transformational 10. I love that. It was like I don't know whether you ever read that book by, what was his name? Scott?
Kevin Kelly? Oh.
No, it was one of the very first books about sort of like the online world. And it was called Friends, Fans, and another F.
Followers.
Followers. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it was a great book. It was the first book that sort of talked about, I mean, we're talking about 12 years ago or 10 years ago, where it talked about very clearly about, you know, how many followers do we really need? You know, do we need the tens of thousands, right? I got on a call yesterday with a guy. The call lasted 2 minutes, by the way. And the first thing out of his mouth was, I have 30,000 followers on LinkedIn. And in my head, I'm like, because it's irrelevant, especially now where the algorithm has changed so like fundamentally that it doesn't even matter anymore how many followers you have. It matters what you do with your interactions on your posts. That's where the money is today, and certainly not in your follower count. So yeah.
Yeah. It's not about the tool, it's how you use it.
Is how do you use it? Yes, and that goes across the board with everything in your life. So how does this look in reality? So you've got the 5 recipe, you have the categorization, the context, the commercializing, the catalyzing, and crystallizing. Is this something that you work with your clients through on a one-on-one? Is this, you mentioned to me earlier before we went live about a cohort, which I think is actually quite brilliant concept, because I would imagine that what you do, not brain surgery, but probably very much around accountability and support and actually getting shit done, right? Which is exactly what I do with my LinkedIn people.
Yeah. So there's 2 ways to work with me. There's the community and there's concierge. Yep. So I have one type of client who, and the client I work with is the executive entrepreneur. Some executive entrepreneurs are in their 30s. And they're operating like an executive because, you know, the stakes are high, they're building their business and, you know, they want to move. But because they're earlier stage, maybe they don't necessarily have the funds, or for whatever reason, they're not ready to make the $25,000 investment to work with me one-on-one. The second type of client is at the concierge level, and it's actually an executive entrepreneur that is a retiring corporate executive that comes from the world of infinite support from like 7 admins and 57,000 people working under them to now literally being a solopreneur. And so the concierge is where I work with someone one-on-one to implement the 5 recipes into their business, into their workflow, and then provide ongoing training. Both concierge and community are, I mean, they're mirrors of one another, because it doesn't matter. It's not that you have the money to pay for more service. If you're still at the community level and you're showing up every week, because I have office hours every week, I'm going to push you to watch the videos, implement the exercises, and get shit done. As you said, like, and it's not in a loving coaching. Oh, it's getting in the way. It's, Nina, stop making excuses and just get in there. Like, don't tell me you have, oh, my 5,000 I told you it's only 100. Like, I have thought through this frame. I mean, I've been coming up with frameworks for years, and so when it comes to the objections with the approach that I put together, I've literally designed it such that every week you're watching less than 20 minutes of video, and doing less than 60 minutes of implementation. And it's not like I'm teaching you how to like do a, your cover image somewhere. It's like, no, you're picking up the phone call, you're calling 6 people, you're marking the activity in your system, and you're actually moving the ball to close the sale. So yeah, those are the 2 ways that I work with people.
And I love that. And two more C words: concierge and community. So
yes, 2 more C words.
I'm like taking notes. So the cohort, it's basically just really moving you through, right? And not getting, I think where most of us get stuck is by, as you said earlier, by the volume. So it's not the 4,000 contacts you're looking at, it's the 100 that you're looking for. But identifying those, is that something that is just sort of top of mind, or does that have a little bit more science or system to it?
So that second step I shared, contextualize, right? I think you contextualize how you work with people. There is a level of intention that I have to imagine every entrepreneur goes through when it's like, who's your ICP? Who's your ideal client profile? And so for me, when I think of my ICP, I want to work with someone who wants to grow their business, who looks at the long term, and the specific long term I think of, or I guess, is 3-year horizon, and wants to grow through relationships. So that's my specific ICP. So whenever I engage with someone, and I'll say it at the end of the episode, I say, hey, get your growth scorecard. It'll give you a snapshot of your business, of where you are today and where you want to go in the future. And it's a cool, like, useful snapshot for the person, doing it. But really, it's also a tool I'm using to contextualize who this person is and what they're about. And so I think there's a missing piece. I mean, a lot of people have quizzes. A lot of people design quizzes or evaluations, and like next level thinking invites you to say, hey, how can you make this quiz or evaluation or piece of content extremely useful for the audience, but equally, if not more useful for you? Because that allows you to filter. Because my initial list of 100 people, it might not be like you, Nina, might not be a client of mine, maybe never, but you're on the list now because you're a host that interviewed me. And so I will reach out and say, hey, Nina, it was great to speak with you. I have this assessment. You can take it, or maybe we can send it to your audience. So in a sense, like, okay, you weren't on my, like, you were on my list, but like, maybe you come off one day, but you can help me find other people. And so it doesn't matter who goes on your list to begin with. What matters is that you engage with that person. Say, hey, I'm looking for this type of person.
Leverage. Yeah. I think that's such a good point you're making, because I think a lot of people are stuck in the client, not client, client, not client, not client, not client world. And I started about a year ago to go to look for promotional partners. And it has explosively broadened my reach, just because I'm tapping into other people's communities. And the beauty of it is I can now work with people that would not be my clients, or maybe are already my clients and have said maybe yes to this, but no to something else. But that doesn't mean they're like kind of dead in the water, because now I have a reliable knows and trusts me, who can recommend me further, right? So, and I think that is where, I think it's the expansion part that gets lost so often. And I think that's where you talk about, in your 5 recipes with the commercialize, catalyze, and crystallize, right? If I understand that correctly. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, you said it earlier, right? We're so focused on bringing in these relationships, but what about nurturing them? And you can crystallizing growth. If Nina doesn't have a client for me today, that doesn't mean it's people kind of get stuck in that, like, oh, does Nina going to refer me someone? Yes, no. But there are so many other things that Nina can do. Nina can invite me to her show. Nina can leave me a testimonial that gets automatically published on our website with Senja or other amazing tools. Nina can, I don't know, invite me to speak at a master. There's so many things that we can do together, but we're so stuck in the I need a client hustle that it keeps us from opening up what's possible with our relationships.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was just thinking about. I have this coach, decidedly quite woo. I had to learn a little bit how to work with her, but she's amazing. And I now use words like "this is not good for your nervous system," something that would have never come out of my mouth just a year or two ago. But we were doing this goal setting maybe a half a year ago. And I set myself a very specific goal for a very specific date as instructed. I follow instructions well. And at the end, I didn't reach my goal. But I realized that I had actually overshot my goal by a multiple because I didn't get the 10 clients I wanted, but I got 2 huge promotional partners who had access to hundreds of people that could now be my clients. And being able to see how the relationship, the specific goal might not have been reached, but it did later, right? Because I got referred out so powerfully. So I think that is really where, expanding on your contacts and seeing beyond just your nose tip and the closing a deal right now is so hugely important. Agreed. Totally agreed.
And it's hard, but
and it's hard, right? Because you have to be, and this is actually my biggest thing, is you have to be on. You have to like be mindful and on all the time to make that happen, right? And sometimes, we all, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, we just want to crawl up in a little cave. And in my case, I just want to be, drawing nice little leaves and plants for the next 5 days and not worry about anything else, but or run off into the mountains and just, commune with nature. So, but we can't always do that, right? We have to kind of stay on top of what there is to be stayed on top of. Let me ask you this: what is your relationship with LinkedIn?
I think LinkedIn is my platform. I have not been as consistent as recently, at least. About 2 years ago, I recorded 100 videos and did the whole daily scheduling thing on LinkedIn and Instagram. And you're probably like, yeah, duh. I didn't get any engagement. I would post. I actually native human wrote my own captions, and I was like, wow, this is gonna be great. People are gonna see it, and they're gonna get to know my work. And nothing happened. And I was like, F this, F all social media. I don't like it. And what I didn't do was do the whole engagement pod. I didn't have a group of people where
what works on Instagram doesn't work on LinkedIn, right? So that is also the big fallacy that you're just plastering it all over. And I could have told you LinkedIn, those 100 videos would have lasted you 2 years, right? So because on LinkedIn, you want to be posting twice a week, maybe 3 times max. And yeah, put your time into the engagement part, even a year ago, and now even more so. So right now the game is engagement over posting, hands down. And how big your audience is actually not even that relevant anymore. So like that guy yesterday who started the conversation with, I have 30,000 followers. I'm like, sure. Thankfully, he wanted to work with an agency that does agency work, work for others, and I don't do that. So after 2 minutes, we parted ways. I was like, phew. Anyway, so I mean, I think with LinkedIn, it's really just knowing what works and doesn't, and less is a lot more, for sure. Yeah. So those 100 videos, are those still relevant?
I think some are. Before I had a different 5 recipes, and a lot the videos capture some of those, but I don't know. I think a good exercise would be to kind of watch them over again and evaluate, okay, 60 of these I can reuse.
Yeah, yeah. Because
So
recycling is definitely not the worst idea. So yeah.
I'm writing that down as a to-do.
Okay. Especially if they have captions, which is an absolute must-have. And if they're open captions, so the crawlers can actually read them, right, and transcribe. And yeah. So and I'll tell you about a workshop I'm holding about all things algorithm, but not while we're live on the show. So what is your biggest, and this is sort of the question I always ask at the end, although it then sometimes opens up a big wide new discussion, but what would you say is your biggest LinkedIn pet peeve?
It just sucks seeing just a copy paste LLM output.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I also think I think when someone writes like a whole fucking monologue on a post, it's like, what are you doing, dude? No one's reading. I mean, okay, I'm sure there's an audience for people who read the whole thing, but it's like, come on, this is social media. We're just browsing here. We're not reading blog posts.
Yeah.
So I think that would be it.
It has if you have a rotation, you should have a rotation of different kinds of content. It has its place, but maybe once a month, right? Not every single effing time, to your point. Because if you're talking to an audience that is lurking and is trying to get to know you better, that could work. But for everybody else who's just browsing and sort of, you know, doing a drive-by, as I call it, not so much. So yeah, agreed. Totally agreed. Great. Well, I have more questions, but I think we're at time. So we have to go to commercial break. No, I'm just kidding. I I do, but we do have to stop this wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for your time and your insights, Ernesto. And you know, if you are audience, you know, if your CRM is giving you a headache like it is giving me, you should check out Ernesto. I think he's on to a really, really, really good framework and making sure it happens. And I'm tapped out right now with courses and everything, but you are on my list. So look out for that, you know, cohortee who will be, you know, community member who will be knocking on your door soon with like an endless amount of contacts and not knowing where to even start with them, right? I think it'll for me also be once I have, which is not in the too far a future, I have my you know, Claude co-work set up and my VA up and running. So I think that'll be very helpful too. Yeah, yeah.
Great.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for your time. Thank you to the audience for listening, whether you did so live or you are watching the replay. And feel free to ask questions in the comments. If you mention Ernesto or me, we'll definitely see them and give you a response. So see you all next month with Molly Liu, who will be talking about converting on LinkedIn, which I'm excited about too. So bye, everybody. Thank you. And thank you so much, Ernesto.
Thank you.